Hi everybody, I'm Phil. This is Phil with Phacts, and today is Wyvern Venom Part 2. Yeah, so as you might recall from a previous video, this is our Wyvern Venom wine. It is a citrus pepper wine. If you didn't watch that video, you should go watch that video. It was a good video. Anyway, it has been about 3.5 weeks since I initially started this ferment. And what I want to do today is rack it from this vessel into this vessel. That's really all we're going to be doing. Then we're going to be tasting it, seeing where it's at, what the flavor profiles are like, and seeing if we want to add anything extra to it. So, with that said, we're going to start racking. Before we start today, as always, anything that this liquid is going to touch today has been sanitized. Use any food grade safe sanitizer you feel like using, but please use a sanitizer. Anyway, all we're going to do is take our carboy, make sure it's at a lower level, take our Wyvern Venom, make sure it's elevated, following. You then want to remove the top, the airlock and the lid. That can go right into the sanitizer. And immediately, you smell pepper. That's a good sign. Now you'll notice there is a floating cap of all the citrus peel, the craisins, the peppers. They're all floating right at the surface. What I want to do is get below that surface, but if you go to the bottom, you're going to have a lease. That's all your dead yeast, the live yeast, anything that was a byproduct that flowed to the bottom is also something you want to avoid. So all we're going to do, take the auto siphon. There are other ways to do this, but this is just the safest and the easiest. A couple of large pumps, and then it starts going. Now, as this starts to get to the bottom, you can just tip the vessel a little bit. It will help get as much product out of this as possible. You're going to lose a little bit, it's just the nature of the beast. One other thing you might notice is I'm not racking this into a plastic pitcher like I normally would. Normally I like to degas before I start secondary. I'm not really convinced after 3.5 weeks that primary is 100% done. So I don't really want to degas at this point. I kind of want to let it just keep doing its thing. Also, with auto siphons, you'll notice that there's a little cap at the bottom. That cap prevents it from sucking up too much of the least that's actually at the bottom. If you get a little bit, especially in an earlier brew, it's not the end of the world. Alright, now you're going to notice there's a lot of headroom here, and that's okay. A, it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to add anything extra we might want to. It also is still degassing, because as I said, I did not degas this. So there's a nice layer of CO2 in here. That's good, that's exactly what we want. Next, you know the drill, we're going to take a gravity reading. We're going to see where it's at compared to what it started at, and get a kind of idea of what the alcohol is, and how much it went, and how much it still might go. Please, don't skip the gravity reading. Alright, this is our sanitized hydrometer. As always, there's several different scales on it. There's the specific gravity, that's the one you want. There's the potential alcohol, we're going to ignore that. And then there's Brix. We're also going to ignore that. Mainly because I don't know enough about any of that to really give you good details. I do know specific gravity. All you're going to do is place the hydrometer into the liquid. and see where it's at. So we are looking at a 1.070. Remember, it's always going to be 4 numbers. If you also watched the first vid, this started at a 1.120. I'm going to put what it's currently at right about here. But what that tells me is at a 1.070, it's not done. It's still going to go a little bit more. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get a glass. We're going to pour ourselves a sample, and then we're going to pour the rest right back in. Now, in a non-degassed brew, such as this, I don't think adding a little bit of liquid from a sanitized vessel back into this is going to activate any acetobacters that we have to worry about. But if you're not comfortable pouring this back in, drink it. Now, my trick for just getting a taste from a non-degassed brew is just degas what you're going to drink. Should also point out that 1.070 might also be a little high because there are still gases inside the liquid. Even if it throws it off by a point or two, we're still going to take another gravity reading before we bottle it. So we will know what it ends up at accurately. This is more of just getting an idea of where it might be. And once you get most of the gases out, it's really hard to get everything out. Just going to give this a little bit of a swirl. And breathe it in. See what it starts to make you think of. Now, since you've made it, you're going to be a little biased towards it, because I'm definitely getting some orange. I'm definitely getting some of that lime coming through. And I definitely smell some spice in it. Now taste. It's going to taste green. It's not going to be great at this point, but it'll give you an idea of where the flavors are and what they might come out to. Okay. Definitely has a stronger lime presence. And the heat kind of sneaks up towards the end and then just washes away. It's really good. So what we're going to do, I think, we're going to add a few pieces of orange zest, and then we're going to store this away for another few weeks and let it finish out. In case you're wondering, yes, I sanitized the knife. You want to be careful at this point because all you want are some nice, thin orange zest slivers. If they don't fit in this, it doesn't do you much good, right? Now this has a nice heat to me. I think it came out with just a good amount of heat, and as it keeps going drier, it might actually go completely dry in secondary. It's going to get spicier, it's going to get hotter. So I'm not going to add any more peppers today. But if you taste it at this point and you're getting no heat or you're not getting enough heat that you like, feel free. So, as I said, there's a nice little protection, like a blanket of CO2 over the top of this right now. We're still going to want to get an airlock, get a stopper, put them in, and automatically it goes right back to having pressure in here. So I know that still gas is happening. Yeast might start to pick back up. They might work a little bit slower. If this doesn't stay with pressure, if this neutralizes out, don't worry about it. Doesn't mean nothing's happening. It just means things are happening a little bit slower now. As I said, we're going to give this 2, maybe 3 more weeks before we even touch this again. And at that point, we might rack it, take another reading, and decide, do we want to bottle it or do we want to age it in here a little bit longer? There's options, and we'll go over that depending on how this ferments out. when you brew at home every single time, it's going to be a little bit different. Things are going to work a little bit different. There are ways to make controls, but you also don't have to stress it, because as long as that base recipe is something you enjoy drinking, at the end you're going to enjoy this. Also, it might give you an opportunity to play around with it and create something even better, or something you have never done before. So don't stress it. And welcome back to the final Phacts. So today, we racked our Wyvern Venom wine. It was a little early, because I still don't think this is done just yet. But even if it kicks back up a little bit, it's not going to be much. It's not really going to affect us all that much. Now, we did it a little early, and that's because my schedule the way it is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to this within the next week or so. And even though that fruit cap was good now, that can change. You have to keep your eye on your brew. You have to work at your comfort level. Racking it a little early doesn't hurt your brew. But what it did do is give us a chance to see where it's at, make a decision on if we wanted to add anything to it, and now we kind of know. So we'll let this sit. We won't touch it again for another few weeks, and then we'll make another decision, and that will be, do we want to do anything else to it? Do we want to bottle it? Do we want to just let it sit and age a little bit more? It's all okay. We'll take gravity readings along the way, and when it's done we'll know, and then we'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm Phil. This is Phil with Phacts. This was our Wyvern Venom wine. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please go ahead and give me a like, hit subscribe. If you have questions about anything I did today, please go ahead, leave me a comment. I'd love to answer it. Until next time, guys, cheers.